David Luiz. There's still plenty to come. Don't forget, we are live on NBC Sports News from 2 our time. And right now, Kate Mason, we are live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter as well. How are you enjoying your deadline day debut?
Goodness me, thanks, David. Well, alongside you, easy. I seem to have upset a lot of Everton fans, though. They don't
look, everyone's a little bit more keyed up on deadline day, aren't they? They're a little bit more excited. But you know what? We're going to get them back on track. Shall we wander on set?
Yeah, we love Everton. We love all Premier League clubs, all Championship clubs,
equally.
all League One.
Yeah.
But today, it's all about Premier League and Championship deadline.
It's not the only debutant, because in fact we've also got Sol Bamba, who I know for a fact has not lost a yard of pace because he dashed to the toilet in the break and he made his way back on set way before I'd even started that opening nick. And we also have Ian Holloway, who is a deadline day veteran, I'd like to say.
Thank you very much.
In the nicest possible sense. How are you enjoying it, guys?
Very much so, thank you. Fantastic. Good job you turned his mic off. You don't want that live on air.
Oh, actually, we didn't, I don't think.
Oh, no.
It brings a whole new word to live streaming, eh?
Oh, look at you.
Come on.
Anyway. OK, right, look, we've got to get to Tottenham because there's big news coming out of Tottenham and Paul Gilmore is the man to bring it to us. Paul, what can you tell us?
Yes, David, first of all, let's start from the Juventus side of things. So Sky in Italy saying that Juventus are not willing to let Paulo Dybala leave without having a replacement lined up. They lost out, of course, on Romelu Lukaku, who moved to Inter Milan. Mauro Icardi, another Inter Milan player, well, he's somebody that Juventus have been linked to. So that's the situation in Italy. Here in England, we're being told Spurs are no longer actively pursuing a deal for Dybala as things stand. Now, our colleagues in Turin say the medical tests, if something can be done, could be resolved by using the data from his pre-season testing a few days ago at Juve. They also report that the image right issues could also be resolved at a later date. But essentially, as we've been saying today, this is an extremely tough deal to get over the line, especially in this time frame. And just to reiterate, here in England, we're hearing Spurs no longer actively pursuing a deal for Dybala as things stand.
No move to England for Dybala then, from the looks of things. But one man who is on the move, we've been discussing him all morning, Romelu Lukaku. James Cooper is at Old Trafford for us. What is the latest?
Yeah, good afternoon. I think we're at Old Trafford, but all eyes here at Old Trafford are on Milan and waiting for that medical to be completed that Romelu Lukaku is taking. We know, of course, he arrived in Milan in the early hours of this morning, having been AWOL, if you like, for the last week. We expect to see him at Carrington on Monday and Tuesday, and so did Manchester United, and on Wednesday. He didn't appear on any of those days, and now we know he's in Milan after Manchester United accepted that offer from Inter Milan earlier this morning, worth around £73.7 million, including that add-ons and clauses, but also a sell-on fee if Inter Milan do get rid of Romelu Lukaku. So Manchester United have built in a little bit of value into that. And bearing in mind, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were talking about £53.7 million. Then they have eked out a little bit more and got closer to that goal of sort of £79 million. I think most Manchester United fans will be waiting for something to be taken down here at Old Trafford. They have flags on the top of the Sir Alex Ferguson stand that represent each of the nationalities of the first team squad. Well, the Belgian flag at the moment is flying high above me, and until that's taken down, well, Romelu Lukaku remains a Manchester United player. I think they'd also like to know whether there might be a Croatian flag that's replaced with that, because certainly Manchester United are talking about Mario Mandzukic. There's a slim chance that deal might get done, bearing in mind there were talks earlier on in the summer related to a deal between Lukaku, Dybala, Juventus and Mandzukic. But again, I think we are talking about slim pickings here, and I think United fans should be prepared maybe for no incomings, bearing in mind, of course, they were excited that perhaps a central midfielder was going to come in, or even a wide player. That's certainly what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have liked. And in terms of outgoings, we know that yesterday Everton came calling, inquiring about a possible loan deal for Chris Smalling. They were told that wouldn't happen, but I think as a result of those negotiations, I think talks are ongoing between Manchester United and Everton about a transfer involving Marcus Rojo. When I talk about, you know, the pecking order when it comes to centre-backs, top of the line is Harry Maguire, closely followed by Victor Lindelof. You've then got Smalling and Jones and Axel Tuanzebe. Yes, Eric Bailly is injured, but I think at the bottom of the pile you've got Marcus Rojo, and I don't think Manchester United, if they were offered a deal by Everton, would stand in Marcus Rojo's way of first-team football and a move from this side of the M62 to the blue side of the M62.
Great stuff, James. Right, OK, let's come back into the studio, and let's speak to Sol and to Ollie about Manchester United once again. The word being used when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was appointed manager, and then especially towards the end of the season, was rebuild.
Yeah.
Now, Dan James in, Aaron Wan-Bissaka in, also in was Harry Maguire, of course, £80 million, and now Romelu Lukaku out. Is that enough of a rebuild for Manchester United fans to really start contesting the Premier League once again?
It's a good start, I think. You know, obviously getting rid of Lukaku is going to bring his own player now. The young player he brought now is a young, fresh, ready for the challenge, and they want to learn under a good manager. So I think I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's there yet, but I do think it's a very, very good start for Man United.
Ollie, we had a situation where Manchester United weren't bidding enough, for Leicester's liking at least, for Harry Maguire, 55, 60, up it goes 70. And then we hear that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has told Ed Woodward to get this deal done. What do you make of the sort of transfer structure at Old Trafford and how well or not it's working?
I think that was a huge problem. Losing Sir Alex Ferguson on his own would be a big enough problem for any club. But to lose David Gill as well at the same time, you know, and I'm sorry, at the minute, they haven't done things correctly. So for me, Ed Woodward got to really pull his finger out, sort things out, because Man United are dragging their heels, and that's really unlike them. You know, Ollie needs some support. He needs to get things done, and they haven't done enough. They need a breaking up midfield player, in my opinion.
Okay,
someone with great legs who gets around.
We're going to get back to the chat in just a moment. We've just received these shots in from Milan, and guess who this is? It's Romelu Lukaku from that window, waving to the cluster of reporters and photographers and cameramen down there and applauding as well. Does that mean that a move to Inter Milan is imminent? We will let you know as and when that goes through. Let's get back then to Manchester United, the club that he is leaving. What about the sort of profile of players that they're signing? I mean, Harry Maguire's maybe slightly apart from this, but really young in terms of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, you know, barely proven in the Premier League, if we're being brutally honest, and also Dan James. Is it the right policy, Ollie?
We'll have to wait and see. You know, they're used to winning things, you know, and they've probably been a bit spoilt for a fair few years now, you know, and it was the club to go to, and who wouldn't have wanted to play for Sir Alex Ferguson? So let's face it, that's a tough ask to follow. They've one of the biggest clubs in the world, and they've got to try and start performing again, you know. Some of the signings, I believe, of for the wrong reasons. You know, and I feel...
What do you mean by that?
They've overpaid people.
So Wan-Bissaka?
No. What they're doing now is more like Manchester United.
Right.
But when you get back to the Sanchez deal, for me, that's
Di
an
Maria,
absolute disaster waiting to happen.
That's why I think they change it now for something different, because they went down that route. They went for Di Maria, they went for Sanchez, they went for Nketiah. It didn't really work out. So now they're looking more to go like for a young player, British if they can, and they're eager to learn and hopefully progress and do well for Man United.
OK, so that's United. Arsenal and Chelsea still to come.
Yes, well, we want you guys to get in touch at home as well on our Twitter page throughout deadline day. We're going to talk Manchester United as well. You saw those recent shots there of Romelu Lukaku in Milan. But what about a potential late replacement? Well, the guy that's been talked about today, particularly by our colleagues in Sky in Italy, is Mario Mandzukic. Now, we've seen this summer that Man United tended to go for young British talent. This, of course, is a 33-year-old Croatian. So, Man United fans, this is the question we're going to ask you right now on our Twitter page. Would Mario Mandzukic be a good replacement for Romelu Lukaku? As you can see there, you've got 10 minutes to answer. I'm going to tweet that out right now, so get in touch. 10 minutes' time, we'll update you with the result of that poll.
We love it when Premier League clubs do business with one another, don't we? Arsenal and Chelsea are the teams that we're talking about, and David Luiz is the player who is in sharp focus. So, as you can see, Geraint Hughes is at Arsenal, which could be his destination. Gary Cottrell's at Chelsea, which, of course, could be the club that he's leaving. Let's start off with Geraint at Arsenal. So, what are the latest developments? We edge towards 4 hours, 3 hours to go until the deadline, Geraint.
Yeah, actually, good use of the word edging closer, because I think that's exactly what's going on. And I think for people who are becoming anxious, probably Arsenal fans, about this is patience. As we reported yesterday, is that in all likelihood by 5 o'clock this evening, Arsenal would certainly have 2 new players in the form of David Luiz and Kieran Tierney. So the confidence is, from our information, is that will happen. In terms of Luiz, of course, it's the standout signing for Arsenal. Luiz, is such a charismatic figure as well, and he's achieved so much in the game at his time at Chelsea, PSG, and of course with Brazil as well. Just adding to what Gary Cottrell said in the last hour, sort of from the Chelsea end, very interesting. I just want to give you a bit of insight. I was in Japan recently and was there when Chelsea played 2 pre-season games there. And it was interesting that David Luiz was very much the focus, the main man on the tour in terms of their commercial activities. He's so visible and he's so easy going as well. He was happy to talk to Japanese fans. He was very much a sort of a go-to man for Chelsea there. They are going to be losing somebody that brings so much, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. So just a bit of an insight as to how Chelsea were using him, literally in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks as well. So that's going to be some loss for Chelsea if and when we expect him to come over to Arsenal here. But I think the buzzword is patience. Just quick update, Kieran Tierney as well from Celtic. We expect that to go through as well. Medicals and the paperwork just being sorted out before official confirmation. And as well, Eddie Nketiah as well, as we know, has gone up to Yorkshire, gone up to Leeds to complete a medical there and a loan deal for him at Leeds as well. So that's the latest here from Arsenal. Just a little bit of a waiting game, bit of patience.
OK, thank you, Geraint. We will be. We'll try to be. It's deadline day, though, so that's difficult. Right, let's move on to Chelsea and Gary Cottrell. Gary, you can see from the mural behind you, look, that might need a quick paint job fairly soon because, obviously David Luiz is still there in blue, but he might be swapping that for a red shirt of Arsenal. But what does it say about the philosophy and the strategy for Frank Lampard now, letting him go, letting Gary Cahill go, and talk about Kurt Zouma and Andreas Christensen facing Manchester United in that first Premier League game?
Yeah, and by the way, if they do have to paint that over in grey, the David Luiz that is looming large over my shoulder, they got 5 hours, David, not 3. You're wishing away transfer deadline day. We can't be having that with one every hour. We can get, yes, SW6 about to be swapped for N7 by David Luiz. As I say, looming large this transfer deadline day. And I think it's the difference in a couple of weeks of May. You heard Geraint there talking about how he was at the fore of everything in that Far Eastern leg of the Chelsea pre-season tour. And certainly before that, when they were in Dublin having a couple of friendlies, he was captain for one of the games, and he was again giving interviews talking about how much he was enjoying life under Frank Lampard. But I think he's been told by Frank Lampard that he's not first, not second, not third, potentially not even fourth or fifth choice centre-back going ahead. And you're quite right, Andreas Christensen and Kurt Zouma started their last friendly game in Germany and are expected to start the first game in the Premier League, which of course is the Super Sunday game against Manchester United. And of course, news coming out in just the last few hours of the man next to David Luiz on the wall here at Stamford Bridge. That man there, Tony Rudiger, pictured in full training, looking strong, looking determined, running fast and running well. And he's probably now recovered from that knee injury and that knee surgery and will be back in the fold within the next couple of weeks. Add to that Fikayo Tomori, the youngster, of course, who did so well under Frank Lampard at Derby last season, who's now back at Chelsea. So you can see that David Luiz probably is wondering whether or not he had a future here at Chelsea, and so has decided to rejoin Unai Emery at Arsenal. That should be announced officially any moment now. In terms of goings out, we can't have any comings in, because of the transfer ban, but before that deadline arrives, potentially Drinkwater, Bakayoko and Zappacosta all potentially leaving the club. Of course, if they do go abroad, they haven't got to be done by 5 o'clock today.
Well, Geraint told us to be patient, so we're just going to take a little moment here. You very rarely get a chance to do this on deadline day because it's a breathless, relentless pace. And talking of breathless, relentless pace and skill and trickery and much more besides, where is this man going to end up? Will he be staying at Crystal Palace or will he be heading to Goodison Park? Well, actually, talking of Palace, maybe this time it's a nice sunny day for our reporter Michael Bridge.
Yes, David, it's a beautiful day down here in Beckenham. Crystal Palace is always busy for Crystal Palace supporters on deadline day, but will the sun be shining on the supporters come 5 o'clock?
Also, on top of that, Sebastian Haller. But what about today? There has been another signing announced, that of Ajeti from Basel. James Cole is our man with West Ham. Tell us about him then, James.
Yes, the Swiss striker has joined West Ham. He's become their 6th summer signing and their deadline day signing too. At 9 a.m. this morning, they announced him, and we've just seen him training with his squad as they prepare to face Manchester City on Saturday. He's joined from Basel. He's 22 years old. He's scored 40 goals in 3 seasons at Basel. He's a young talent. I think it's fair to say he's a player that West Ham see a lot of potential in, and one for the future. You mentioned there Haller. He's going to be back up to Haller this season. It's not likely to. It will start a huge amount of games, but he will be a key part of the squad. And yeah, 6 summer signings. West Ham has spent over £80 million, 45 on Haller, 25 on Pablo from Villarreal. So they've spent a lot of money in terms of recruiting, strengthening in this window, and we understand that that will be it. Now, you never say never do till the window actually closes, but the noises we're hearing here, and we're going to hear from Manuel Pellegrini in about 15 minutes, the West Ham boss, is that will be that as far as their dealings are concerned. We'll bring you that press conference with Manuel Pellegrini as soon as it happens.
Now, it's not just the Premier League clubs who are in for a busy day, it's also deadline day for the Championship. So let's bring you up to speed with the major deals so far. Bobby Reid could leave Cardiff today. Bristol City and Fulham are both interested in the attacking midfielder. That's according to Sky sources. Reid only left Bristol City last summer for a fee of £10 million. Now, we understand Arsenal striker Eddie Nketiah is on his way to Leeds for a medical with a view to a loan move. We reported yesterday Nketiah was due to have a medical at Bristol City. Looks like Leeds have stolen a march there. West Brom are in talks with Southampton over a deal for striker Charlie Austin. That's according to Sky sources. Bristol City again, though, also interested. QPR are favourites to sign Burnley's Narky Wells on a season-long loan, where he also spent last season. Middlesbrough have also made a loan offer. Birmingham and Bristol City also in for him. Now, one player who Bristol City have got over the line is Adam Nagy. He's a Hungarian midfielder, and he arrives from Bologna. He's the club's 11th signing this summer. He signed a 3-year contract, and he's got the option of a 4th. Sheffield Wednesday have completed the signing of Australian international Massimo Luongo from QPR. That's for an undisclosed fee. And Jacob Murphy is travelling to Yorkshire, and that's from a medical with Sheffield Wednesday. That's with a view to a season-long loan. The Newcastle winger spent last season at West Brom.
Now, still with us here in the studio, of course, providing education and insight, Ian Holloway, Sol Bamba.
Wow. That's the big build-up.
I love that. See what you brought to it, son?
You've got it. Well, certainly we know Sol Bamba is a man with a very large brain and many, many languages under his belt. Anyway, what we're going to talk to you about now is the Championship and your club, Cardiff. How much of a blow is it to lose Bobby Reid?
It'd be massive. He's a very important player for us. He's scored goals at this level in particular. He scored 24 goals 2 seasons ago, I think. And we really like him a lot. The fans like him as well. So it'd be a big blow and it's a bit of a surprise, but I'm sure he had a chat with the gaffer and they probably decided it'd be best for both parties if he goes. But we'd be disappointed to lose him for sure.
How do you feel the atmosphere is at the club at the moment? Of course, you've been injured for some time, so perhaps tough for you to be on the outside looking in for a change.
Yeah, very difficult. I'm getting there. I'm not far off now, so I'm looking forward to come back. But looking from outside, and we had a very good pre-season. Went away in America, and everyone gelled together with the new signing. And we're looking to have a good season. Obviously, the first game was a disappointment, but there's 45 games to go, so we're pretty confident.
And how closely are you following the summer business? Are you happy with it so far?
Yeah, I mean, we always want more, and the fans always want more as well. But it's one of those where the club's trying their best to bring as much of players as they can, and we're looking forward to the window closes so we can get down to business.
Looking forward to the window closing? What is this?
Yeah, because it's difficult for manager and clubs because you can always lose player. Like the best example is now, like Bobby Reid can leave, and we don't want any our best player to leave. So we're looking forward to the window close for sure.
So how do you cope with that sense of uncertainty within a club?
Yeah, it's part of it. We know, as a player, you know the January transfer window and the summer transfer window, anything can happen. You can lose player can come in, so you prepare for that. But it's never nice when you lose your best players. So we got a good squad. We want to keep the group together, but obviously it's the club have to balance the book, and the club have to decide whatever is good for them to move players or not.
Ollie, let's just talk about some of those deals we mentioned in the EFL. There are some done deals in the EFL. We're still waiting for them in the Premier League. But let's talk about, for example, Massimo Luongo to Sheffield Wednesday. You've also got Charlie Austin, who's interesting West Brom. Which are the ones that sort of jump off the page? Could West Brom do with Charlie Austin? I mean, they've lost some firepower, haven't they?
Anybody in the Championship could do with Charlie Austin, in my opinion. A proven goal scorer, wonderful lad, leads the line brilliantly. He's a cross between a number 9 and a number 10. He's clever enough to do all of that, but anytime the ball comes in the box, he's on the end of it, and I just love him. You know, I absolutely love him. Obviously, Massimo Luongo was my captain for a bit at QPR. Fantastically talented boy.
Will he add to what Sheffield Wednesday
that's a
already
massive
have?
take for Sheffield Wednesday, without a shadow of a doubt. And for me, it's only got to be a financial decision for QPR. Because no way on earth would you really want to lose him. You know, whoever you bring in, no way on earth would you want to lose that lad and his influence on the team. So, you know, that's a great take for Sheffield Wednesday, you know, and if they're doing that with a interim manager, why don't they just give it to him? Because, you know, that's a great signing. Well done.
And what about elsewhere in Yorkshire? Leeds could be bringing in Eddie Nketiah on loan from Arsenal, bit of Premier League quality. What do you make of that also, Ollie?
Leeds are very, very clever, you know, with Bielsa's experience. You know, Kemar Roof's gone, which will be a dent for them. They started brilliantly last week. Obviously, you know, they're going to need some extra strength. I thought they ran out of steam towards the end of the season. A little bit young they were, so, you know, watch this space for Leeds. They might nick the one Bristol City were after, you know. And, you know, I'd personally like to see if Bobby doesn't stay at Cardiff, Bristol City get Bobby Reid back. He was sensational for them, you know.
All right, let's head back up into the Premier League from the Championship there, because Wilfried Zaha, we know, handed in that transfer request. We're still wondering what's happening next at Crystal Palace. And to tell us, here's Bridgie, Michael Bridge.
Will. Yes, good afternoon, Kate. Yeah, there's plenty of talk surrounding the future of Wilfried Zaha. I must say, I've just got one report at the moment that Wilfried Zaha didn't train for Crystal Palace today. Now, that doesn't mean that he's off, but he didn't train today. That's my understanding from one source I have. Now, of course, they place Everton on Saturday at Selhurst Park. Has to be Everton, doesn't it? The team, the only team I understand at the moment interested in Wilfried Zaha. But if he's not trained today, it doesn't look like he'd play on Saturday for Palace anyway. What I am investigating is if he's not here and if he's not training, is that because he's on the move or not? It is something I'll be investigating. And of course, at Crystal Palace, something always happens throughout the day. Come on, let's talk about incomings now, because there's plenty Palace still need to do, in particular a striker, Fedor Chalov, and I've just received a text messages. There's reports in Russia say that deal is not going to happen. Deal not dead just yet, but Palace do have other irons in the fire in the attacking departments if that deal does not go through. Crystal Palace do like leaving things late, and yesterday I tweeted that 4 players are coming in. And then 2 minutes later, the Crystal Palace social media department tweeted 2 had come in, Camarasa and James McCarthy. So 2 done, maybe 2 today, or even more. It's always busy at Crystal Palace. Trust me, sun is shining. Will it be shining come 5 p.m? Don't go away, stick with us on Sky Sports News, and I'll give you the latest updates.
A sunny, warm and, dare I say it, fiery transfer deadline day for Michael, perhaps. Deal still being done. Aston Villa have been very busy, but will there be any more today?
Well, 12 signings so far this summer. Will there be 13? Hopefully we'll get an answer to that question very soon. Dean Smith talking to us in about half an hour's time, so keep it here on Sky Sports News.
If I could have everyone's attention for just one moment, I got some wonderful news. Check it out. Because PlusNet care about their customers, they have been voted Best Provider Customer Service in the Uswitch Awards 6 years in a row! Yay! Best Provider Customer Service in the Uswitch Awards 6 years in a row.
if those two deals go through. 10 minutes, 50,000 of you voted, and look at that, 63% of you say it's not a good deal. We've had a lot of comments as well. Some say he's as good as we can get at this point, proven goal scorer at the top level, and provides a different option from what we've got in that you can be more direct to him. But on the other side, too old, too slow, so how on earth does he fit the profile that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants? Is this just a cheap alternative? So disappointed? Well, you might want to remind United fans, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was 34 years old when he came in, 1 year older. He scored 28 goals in his debut season for the club. Now, keep abreast of our Twitter page, because we're going to be asking you now, as we approach lunchtime, how you're watching us on our lunch break. That's at Sky Sports News.
Newcastle have been having a busy time this transfer window. They've signed a defender. Of course, there's sure to be a few outgoings. And Keith Downey is at the club's training ground. He's got the very latest for us.
Yeah, the only story in town right now here on Tyneside is the possible signing of Andy Carroll here at Newcastle United. I can tell you that Newcastle are looking into the possibility of bringing the free agent here to Newcastle, but it's a kind of one, it could be done today before the deadline, it could be done afterwards. Because Carroll is a free agent, having left West Ham in the summer, it is the sort of deal that could go on for days or weeks. So we really don't know at what stage we're at with that. He's definitely a player that Steve Bruce has liked in the past. He definitely does have an interest in him, and I think Andy Carroll himself, he would love a return to Newcastle United. He'd be willing to take a pay cut to return here. Of course, he left here back in 2011. Remember that on transfer deadline day, the final day in January in 2011, that record transfer back at the time, £35 million, that British transfer record he signed for Liverpool from Newcastle back then. Could he return to Newcastle in a deadline day swoop? Let's watch this space and find out. But in terms of other arrivals here at Newcastle United, we saw Emil Kraft earlier on. He had his medical here yesterday. He was signed for what we understand to be £5 million from the French club Amiens. The Swedish defender, right back, 20 caps for Sweden, should slot in and take that position up on the right hand side of Newcastle United's defence. So that's 4 in so far for Newcastle. Could it be 5? Let's watch this space. But as I say with Andy Carroll, it's a sort of deal that could be done today or it could be done later on because of course he is that free agent.
By the way, if you haven't already mentioned it, we are streaming live right now, not just on our own website and our app, but also Facebook, YouTube, Twitter as well. This is the news desk, and admittedly, the number of check calls in to here about Aston Villa over the last month or so. Yes, so many. They've signed a dozen players. It started off with hotter, and things got hotter and hotter and hotter. Marvellous Nakamba, their last signing, and 10 in between. We're going to be hearing from Dean Smith in his news conference a little bit later on. Kirsty Edwards is with Aston Villa. Kirsty, good afternoon to you once again. So what do you expect Dean Smith to say about the start of the Premier League season and indeed about their summer business?
Well, I think Villa need to pull their finger out, really, don't they? Just the 12 signings, as you say, so far this summer. The big question is, will we see even more today? I'm hoping to get an answer to that very, very shortly. As you say, Dean Smith will be talking to us. He'll be sat in the chair just behind me, due to talk to us about 1 o'clock today. So it'll be good to talk to him about all the business they've done, just how pleased he is with the squad they've assembled. Also some big news today, not a new signing, but this will have come as good news for Villa fans. John McGinn had a fantastic season in his first season last year. He has signed a new 5-year deal. So I will be speaking to the manager about that as well. But also interesting to hear his thoughts. They've spent so much money over the summer, as did Fulham last season. So what went wrong for Fulham? Has he seen what went wrong for them? And obviously money doesn't guarantee success. So what does he think to what Fulham did last season, and how will it be different here at Villa this season? Plenty to talk to him about, not least, of course, that game live on Sky Sports on Saturday against Tottenham, who for once have been active in the transfer window as well. So does he expect them to be even stronger this season? You can hear from Dean Smith this afternoon. He's due to speak to us at 1 o'clock today.
Not long to go. Thanks, Kirsty. Now, what about the champions Manchester City? We've had news of a former England international potentially arriving at the club. Ben Ransom has the details. Ben, tell us more.
Yeah, Manchester City, not traditionally a club that's that busy on transfer deadline day, but you're absolutely right to say a former England international is still having a medical here ahead of a season-long loan. That man is Scott Carson. Admittedly, he's not been in the national side for a fair while, but he's got lots of Premier League experience, and Manchester City have outlined him as a player to come in as effectively a backup option to the goalkeepers Ederson and Claudio Bravo. They are short in that particular position of key goalkeeper for the Premier League squad, and also they're short of homegrown players, Englishmen, for their Premier League squad. Last season they only registered 4, which meant their Premier League squad was smaller than it could have been otherwise, because you can have up to 8 slots. Well, if they bring in Carson, that would take their tally up to 5. So it's, in that respect, it makes sense from all sides. As I say, I've just been told in the last few minutes that medical is still ongoing here, but hopefully, should it all go well, Scott Carson will be a Manchester City player by the end of the day. In the next hour here, we're going to be speaking to the newest signing £60 million was the valuation they put on him when they brought him in from Juventus. João Cancelo, the right back, is going to be holding a news conference, so I'll be chatting with him and finding out exactly why he chose to come to Manchester City.
Can't wait. Thanks, Ben. All right, let's chat about Arsenal then. We spoke to Charlie Nicholas earlier about them, and now what we want to talk about is defence, Sol. Famously an issue for Arsenal over, you could say, quite a few years.
Yeah.
What do you think they need to do?
I do think they need to bring 1 or 2 bodies in, but they need proper defender. What I call a proper defender is more like a Sol Campbell back in those days, or Gary Kay, or he went to Palace. Someone like him would be perfect for Arsenal, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. And David Luiz is a great player. You've got the right personality and the character, but I feel like he's good on the ball. He likes to go forward, and I think what Arsenal need is like 2 proper defender, old school, and head the ball, clear it, and make sure you keep a clean sheet.
So you mentioned David Luiz. He's 32, of course. Is he the right fit for the club, and is he in the right physical shape?
Yeah, he look up to himself. He's physically he's good as anybody, but I do think. I think it's a quick fix for now if they go for David Luiz, because obviously they need a player ready now, and they're probably going to come play 1 or 2 seasons. But after 2 years down the line, they're going to come back to square one. So I think they need like to go and sign a young player for the future, but a proper, very, very good defender.
And breaking news last night, looks as though Kieran Tierney is on his way to Arsenal. What about him? That seems like something of a coup, perhaps.
Yeah, I think he is the best example. I think that's very good. He's young. Obviously coming from Celtic, he's going to learn, and I think this is if Arsenal manage to do that, I think it's a great coup, and I think that's the kind of players they need to look for the future.
We talked before with Charlie Nicholas about leadership. Look at the players that they've let go, Ollie. So Petr Cech, obviously he's gone back to Chelsea, Laurent Koscielny, Aaron Ramsey as well, others besides. Does David Luiz provide that leadership? Who else is putting their hand up and saying, no, I'm a captain of this team and I can lead them?
I think that's been their bugbear, the thorn in their side for a few years, you know, because, let's face it, Mr. Wenger was a wonderful man. He was very loyal to the people he had there. And again, the business, when Mr. Dean wasn't helping him, it all fell apart a little bit, you know, and I'm just concerned about the lack of leadership, you know. And when you say leadership, you're talking about, you know, you're trying to replace Tony Adams, Baldy, and more importantly, in front of that, you had Vieira and you had Petit, you know, and let's not forget that anchor in midfield helps these centre-halves out like you won't believe. Yeah. You need one who will destroy things, who will break things up. Little Torreira was excellent, but does he speak that much English? Have they got a leader? Now, at least I'm saying, Charlie summed it up just now. Yes, there is a mistake in David Luiz every now and again because he plays and he wants to play, and he's a beautiful footballer. But on his day, he's as good a defender as there is. Yeah. You know, he needs to have more of them, and he needs to settle the ones around him. You know, let's be fair. That it's not a bit Keystone Cop-y sometimes because they are used to having the ball, dominating the ball. So, you know, it's a definite area they need to look at. Why couldn't he do it? I can't believe that my old club, Palace, have gone and got Carroll. I think if there was anybody standing out to get, it was him. It was like a Belisha beacon. Boom, boom. Maybe the Chelsea connection, you know, who knows? But I tell you what, I would have been more happy if I was an Arsenal fan with not spending the 73 million on that. Maybe there goes Carroll, there goes David Luiz, because Carroll will be that solid unit, and maybe let David Luiz drift and start passing, you know?
So well. Yeah. So North London, it appears, is dominating deadline day so far. But what about the Northwest? Because, well, they've been one of the quieter sides in this window, but will Liverpool be making any last-minute moves? So we can be hearing from Jurgen Klopp from 1 this afternoon. Not too long to wait.
What does it do? It slams shut. It doesn't peter out, it slams shut. 5 o'clock, just over 4 hours to go. We're going to talk to Watford now. We're heading that way because the question really is whether they're going to be breaking their transfer record for Ismaila Sarr. And there he is, JD Dyer. Tell us.
Yes, Kate, you are right. Obviously, it's been the talk of this club for probably the majority of the summer. And here is the latest in terms of with the deal with Ismaila Sarr. At this moment right here, I can confirm that Watford and Rennes are still in talks to bring the winger here. However, as you and spoke about earlier, with only hours to go until the window shuts, you have to look at the deal right now, and we're understanding that it's increasingly unlikely to happen. I mean, the problems are in terms of the deal with the complications are both clubs value the player at different values. And right now, with only hours to go, it's looking like that, again, I'm going to repeat, increasingly unlikely. However, Watford fans, don't panic. I am going to bring you alternative options. Steven van Berg. He is a winger from PSV, a Dutch winger that has been highly touted, highly looked after, highly looked at as a shortlist here as an alternative option to Ismaila Sarr. So that is an option to look at. Steven Bergwijn, I repeat again, is an option that Watford are exploring with only hours to go. A lot to do down here today. Obviously, the press conference at 1:30 we have with Javi Gracia, as well as hopefully we can get a word of Watford signing from yesterday, Danny Welbeck, around throughout the afternoon. All that and more, and I'll bring you the latest as we continue through the afternoon.
Keeping an eye on the times for us. Thanks, JD. And it's not long, as we know, because, well, in fact, I've got to tell you, West Ham have announced the signing of 22-year-old Ajeti from Basel. That was this morning. But will there be any last-minute additions to Manuel Pellegrini's squad? We're going to hear from him now.
We have 2 players in each position, good players, so I only think that the best way to have a good performance is to have competition in your position to be the started 11. So we did all what we need to do.
And is that definitely done, business-wise, for this window?
No, I think that's already all done.
Now, Burnley haven't spent much this transfer window, but they're still looking to strengthen, we understand. Could they be about to get Danny Drinkwater? Richard Graves has more.
Well, that's the question on everybody's lips here, and maybe we'll find out a bit more in around 20 minutes' time, because behind this desk, the Burnley manager Sean Dyche will answer questions ahead of their season-opening game on Saturday against Southampton. But could Danny Drinkwater be added to that squad in time for Saturday's opening Premier League fixture? Who knows? Season-long loan deals being touted around. He's out of favour at Chelsea. He'd be a good addition here to Burnley. On the other side of the coin, could we see striker Naki Wells leaving on a loan deal as well? Remember, last season he spent it on loan at QPR. We're told that Queen's Park Rangers are once again the favourites to get his signature ahead of the 5 p.m. transfer deadline. All will be revealed, hopefully, in around 20 minutes.
Now, it's not just the Premier League clubs who are in for a busy day. It's also deadline day for the Championship. A reminder, clubs in League 1 and 2 can still sign players up until September the 2nd. So there's loads happening. Let's bring you up to date with the latest. West Brom are close to completing a loan deal for West Ham winger Grady Diangana. Sporting's Matthias Pereira is also undergoing a medical ahead of a move to the Hawthorns. Across to Leeds, and they have signed goalkeeper Ilan Meslier. The 19-year-old arrives on a season-long loan from Ligue 2 side Lorient. Blackburn have inquired about taking QPR striker Idrissa Silla on a season-long loan. Wigan have accepted a bid from Hull for Portuguese central midfielder Leo da Silva Lopes. Lopes has completed a medical, is expected to sign a 3-year deal with an option for a 4th. Brentford have completed the signing of 19-year-old left-back Dominic Thompson from Arsenal for an initial £1 million. The fee could potentially rise to $3 million with add-ons. He arrives on a 3-year contract with an option of a further year. Another potential arrival at Griffin Park is Sparta Rotterdam striker Halil Derv-Izoglu. Brentford are lining up the striker as they're struggling to reach an agreement over personal terms for Salman Ghoddos. Sky Sports News understands. Tottenham defender Cameron Carter-Vickers is close to joining Stoke on loan. Carter-Vickers spent last season on loan at Swansea. And Charlton have confirmed West Brom pair Sam Field and Jonathan Lecco have both arrived on season-long loan deals.
Right, let's get some deadline day stories of years gone by. We're going to be hearing from Sol in a moment on how it was all very smooth with Sven. But, Ollie, tell us about the one that got away for you.
Blackpool fans will kill me, but I could have killed my chairman at the time. Midi Benatia.
Oh, wow, what a player.
Before he signed, this gospel truth, before he signed for Udinese, I flew out on an icy night. I phoned Carroll and said, you are going to do this deal if I like him. He went, yeah, of course I will. So I risked my life, flew out, landed, skidded all over the runway, went to see him at Cannes, and he was absolutely outstanding. He was out of contract. His agent said that Udinese were interested and they wanted to give him a 4-year deal. So I told Carl Oyston, let's do it. He went, no. And then a couple of years later, I ring him up saying, have you seen who scored in the Champions League final? By the way.
My goodness.
Benatia.
Yeah. Wow,
what
okay.
a player.
All right.
That's a big miss out.
Now, Sol, Sven-Göran Eriksson signed you at Leicester, but no hitches, no nervousness, nothing. It was all plain sailing.
Yeah, I was lucky, to be fair. It was smooth as you like. I worked with him in the national team for Ivory Coast, so when he signed for Leicester, he just rang me and asked me to come, so it was easy, no drama.
Ah, there you go. Just put your feet up, let them do the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's the kind of character you are as well, Sol, or maybe the kind of character that Sven is. Now, look, we've loved having your company today on transfer deadline day. Not long ago.
Is that already?
Not yet. No. We're not letting you
get
out
rid of
yet.
us already.
What we want to know is, starting with you, perhaps, Ollie, what is the deal you just really want to see done today?
I'm going to get killed for this, but, you know, you've asked me to come in. If Wilf wants to leave, I'd love him to get the move I think he deserves, you know. If he don't, stay there, get your head down and play as well as you've always done, and the Palace fans will forgive you. But if he really wants to go and wants another crack at that, I hope that happens for him. Maybe a little bit biased of me, and I'm sorry, Palace fans, but listen, all I can say is I love the kid, and I hope, and I believe in him still.
So what is the move? How would you like to see that pan out then?
Well, if Everton are trying to be in the top 6, because they haven't been, you know, they did under Moisey, but if they are, I've been really impressed with their signings. Maybe, don't worry about the Champions League yet, just go there and they might be outsiders, you know, so do that. But, you know, if I was Liverpool, I'd have a little look at that. Why not?
And what about you, Sol?
What a signing that would be.
Sol, which, you know, look at those names. Lukaku, Lo Celso, Tierney, Sessegnon, and we've mentioned Zaha. Who else? Who's the one that you really want?
I'll go for David Luiz to Arsenal. Yeah.
Why?
I think he will bring leadership. We've got strong character, and I think that's all Arsenal needs. So I'll be very happy for Arsenal fan Arsenal if he managed to move there.
OK, well, listen, we have pretty much used up all of your time. I have to say that we brought you on as second-half subs, and you both excelled.
There's plenty more halves to go, though. Where's your maths, David?
Yeah, I don't know, about 7 more halves to go.
I think we're doing quarters today.
I was lost. I was at the bar just now. I don't know where we were. Do you know what I mean? And
You've worked hard.
Did you get chatted up? Were you scrolling through your mobile phone? Did someone approach you for a dance?
No, we never chatted me up, mate. They chat him up. Because
Didn't chat me up.
I've made him look great all morning.
Fantastic. Listen, quadruple substitution on the way then. So that's it for me and Kate, and for Sol, and for Ollie. And coming in their place, are Matt Le Tissier and Alan Smith with the excellent duo of Pete Graves and Joe Wilson to take you through to 3 p.m. Make sure that you stick around here on Sky Sports News as we ramp things up this deadline day.